Let me quickly try to make this preface to the coming remarks, okay? I've been saying that I've been trying to communicate with one person out of the 8 billion alive on the planet right now. Now, I got my reasons for wanting to communicate with this one person. This person has tried to communicate with me in a way that I've found deeply significant and trustworthy. No one else has across over 40 years of my life. Okay? Now, I'm over 70 years old, and I want to make this point. Some people would say, look, why don't you try to communicate with somebody else if you're not succeeding? Get somebody else to help you communicate with this person, okay? I'm over 70 years old, and I've been what I've been calling solitary confinement for over 40 years. Now, what does that mean? It means I've got a lifetime of experience by now in how I'm received by others and what happens when I am received the way I am. Okay? A lifetime of experience. So after this lifetime of experience, you're going to say to me, you tried once, try again. I have tried over 40 years to the point where I'm saying, by now I realize I cannot do certain things. These are facts. And so when I'm trying to get in touch with this person, okay, I'm going to try to get in touch with this one person, not somebody else. Let me put this on pause because I realize I'm now in what I'm calling an emotional blackout from what I just said, out of fear and the rest of it. So that, I feel like I was going to put this preface on the coming remarks to help make the approach I'm taking toward the problems I'm having in my life understandable. And I realized that it's like I was like a fighter standing in a ring and I've been stunned by a punch. You ever seen that happen in a fight? You're watching professional boxing and you say, "Whoa, he's been hurt," and the fighter's standing there for a second and he could get knocked out at that moment because the fighter's stunned. And here's my point. So I've been stunned by what I was just saying in terms of the emotional experiences I've had with communications like this one. So all kinds of fears rose up in me to like hit me right at that moment, and I'm stunned. Okay, so to try to make this preface effective, let me put this on pause and see if I can recover enough to go on with this effectively. Hold on. Quickly, the consequences for me trying a second time, you're going to say, you tried before, try again. Well, I've tried many, many times, and here's one of the consequences of trying more than once. I've been imprisoned for that. Okay? And the imprisonments have brought consequences that are catastrophic. So please understand that when I say after a lifetime of experience in this area, for my own safety even, I only want to try to get in touch with one person on this earth. Okay? And it's the person I've been calling Bishuasi. Okay? So, pause one more second, see if I can say any more here. I said, the consequences of trying more than once have brought me imprisonment. And during one of these imprisonments, I'm saying I was radiation poisoned in a murder attempt. And I'm telling you, the experience of being radiation poisoned like that was beyond imagining, okay? Okay? So, The suffering I endured from that, along with the solitary confinement of over 40 years, all of these factors go into the approach that I'm taking here at the end of my life. Okay, this is the end of my life. I'm an old man, right? So I'm staking everything on this. I'm saying, by now I've learned this doesn't work, that doesn't work, this certainly doesn't work, and so on. I'm saying by now in my old age, there's only one possibility left, and that is the one that I'm taking here. There's my preface to the remarks you're now going to watch, I hope. But if all of these videos are for you, Bishuasi, of course you're going to watch. However, I got to watch out. God knows what can happen to me just for making this video, right? So if I don't even know that you're going to be able to watch this, who am I talking to a lot of the time? I'm talking to potential enemies out there. I don't know who I'm talking to, so there's the reason why I'm talking the way I am. Bye for now, and Bishuasi, look forward to seeing you soon. Okay, there's the time on 5th of July. Now, look down our street here. Okay. See the street there. See any traffic down that street? No, and you're not gonna. Okay, at night, there should be almost no traffic at all down that street for a number of reasons. One of the reasons there's not going to be traffic down that street is because this is a terrace street. Okay, this is a suburban neighborhood, right? And you're talking to somebody who grew up in a suburban neighborhood, not far from here, in the Washington, D.C. area. And you're talking to somebody who's been a lifelong resident of this area. I'm not somebody who moved in. I was born here, raised here. I went to school here through graduate school. I never left. I worked here all the way to retirement, and in retirement, here I am. Okay? So, you're not going to see traffic on a suburban street pretty much at all at certain times of night, okay? But especially on this street, which is a terrace street, and a terrace street, although I've never looked this up, I don't think, it makes a kind of loop from a road that's kind of like a through street, although in a suburban neighborhood, a through street, okay, well, it makes a loop from one road back to that road. So, it's going to be longer to go on that terrace street, to go from point A to point B. The intersections that the terrace street makes with the street it branches off from. It's going to take longer to go down that terrace street, okay, to get from point A to point B. So you're not going to take this street as any kind of a shortcut. Okay, that's not going to happen. So, if there's already no traffic in most of this suburban neighborhood at night, okay, on this particular street, there's going to be even less than no traffic, right? And that's the way it is most of the time. Now, I've been out here at this trailer at night because I figure this person I'm calling Bishuasi may want to try to meet up with me at night for some reason. I don't know why. Let me not even speculate. It just seems like I'm not meeting her at what you would call a normal time, so I figure maybe there's something keeping her from meeting me during a normal time, and she wants to meet me at a time like this. And what prompts have I gotten toward this point of view? Well, coming out to this trailer, what prompted me to come out to this trailer and wait like this to see if she might show up was the fact that occasionally a car would come down the street at night. Okay, and when I checked my watch, okay, I found that the car was coming down at symbolic moments in terms of like a number symbolism that's built up between me and these folks that have been harassing me and my wife for a decade now. Okay? They've created this symbolic language of numbers. And I got reasons for thinking that this person I'd like to meet up with, that I've been calling Bishuasi, she also is super time conscious. Why? She was working in the news broadcast business, which, man, okay, people who work in that business, okay, they gotta be super time conscious, right? I mean, if they're slotted to go on TV, it's on live television, right? They gotta be there, okay? When the time comes for them to be on camera, they gotta be there at that exact moment. The clock ticks up second by second to the moment when the camera's there and they're supposed to be there, photographed by that camera. If they're not there, problems, right? So just think, you're in that business for years. How time may come to matter to you, right? All right? You get in habits of thinking about time. Wait, I got so many seconds and so on before that camera's on me, okay? I got to be there at a certain time. Now, this person I'm calling Bishuasi, she was, I'm saying was because I'm not sure if she is anymore. She was a meteorologist for this television station, okay? So she would come on like 6 times each day, Monday through Friday, okay? So 6 times a day, when the day is divided up, let's say a work day, an 8-hour work day, right? From, let's say, 4 in the afternoon, because she was on at prime time, 4 in the afternoon till a little after 1 a.m., okay? That's most of her day, right? And every hour on the hour, or like 10 minutes after the hour, she's got to be at a certain spot, and she better be there, as far as I can tell. Now, would meteorology reports be taped? I would say not usually, right? Because the weather report's going to be changing all the time, right? So, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm not able to tell, and even after watching closely, I got to say, I was never sure whether I was looking at a live broadcast or a taped one. I never was sure, right? But just using common sense, you got to figure the temperature's going to change, okay, over the course of the day, and you really can't have a taped weather report for that reason. You're going to have a live one. All right, so this person is on call to be in front of that camera, okay? And if you watch television, okay, you'll see that, like, if a show is supposed to start on the hour, let's say 11 o'clock, you can watch the second hand of your wristwatch with the seconds ticking up, and that program's going to come on close to exactly 11 o'clock, okay? And that's going to be every hour. If it's 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. They run things like that on those television stations. So you're going to appear 6 times a day, and you got to be there at a certain second. Now, at first, maybe that's not that much to be concerned about. But if you're there for, let's say, a decade, well, what happens, right? You're going to be, after a while, my God, my slot's coming up, right? And you better be there, right? Through all the difficulties of human interaction, right? Your supervisors, your boss, your co-workers, all the things going on in your life and so on, things going on out in the world, and nothing changes. At that second, you better be there. So I'm saying that this person is highly time conscious. So she also might be wanting to communicate to me at symbolic moments. So I see a car coming down the street, and I don't know if it's her or a bad guy. I mean, I have walked down to the curb when I've seen it, when a car like coming down the street. I got up, like I might have been sitting on my front porch waiting to see if somebody would come down, and I see, here come headlights, and I get up and I walk down to the curb where that car is going to pass by, and I could not see inside that car. Well, I have glasses, but my eyes are not really bad, but it's so dark. I haven't been able to see inside the cars going by, so I've never been able to tell who's in those cars when they come by, like 1 or 2 times a night, okay? So to this very day, I don't know who's been coming down my street, but it's clear as day that somebody's been coming down at symbolic moments. And I would say some of those times it's been her, and I have proof that it's been her. One night she stopped in front of my house, got out of her car, took out her phone and was looking at it, standing on my front lawn. It was clearly her. At the time, I didn't recognize her, and that's a very complex matter as well. I'm not going to go into it. However, and on that one instance, which happened about a year ago, around this time at night, there she was. So, with all of these thoughts that I'm trying to communicate here, let me add this, okay? I've got a profile on a serial murderer who has murdered my step-grandfather, my paternal step-grandfather, my paternal grandfather, my maternal uncle, my maternal uncle's son, and attempted to murder me more than once, okay? I'm calling this a serial murderer, okay? And I have my own profile on this murderer, and what I've developed in that profile is that the mark of this serial murderer is attention to the detail of number symbolism, okay? Where did I get the idea that a serial murderer has a mark? From a Steven Seagal movie that I happened to buy. I'm not sure why, because I didn't know anything about Steven Seagal, nothing, and he made movies in Japan, and I was interested in Japan, so I said, hey, here's some detective fiction on set in Japan. Let me buy this, see what it's like. And I'm watching one of those movies, and it starts out with these detectives looking at victims of a serial murderer. And one of the first things that one of the detectives says to another detective, he says, "What's his mark?" Okay? Well, what is that? The way he says that, and the way it's received, and the way the dialogue goes at that point, it's clear that serial murderers must leave a mark often on victims to show. I'm the one who murdered this one. Weird, right? Okay, now, so with that in mind, that's the extent of what I know in this area. I said, hey, this serial murderer that's been plaguing my family, he, she, they leaves a mark as well, and the mark is number symbolism. Okay? For example, quickly, the step-grandfather gets murdered on January 7th. Then years later, the grandfather gets murdered on January 7th. Okay? The uncle gets murdered on July 2nd, and then my dog gets poisoned on July 2nd. Okay? Now, so I said to myself, there's the serial murderer's mark. But who's the serial murderer in all probability in this case? Well, here's my suspect. The secret police of the United States. They are the serial murderer here, okay? Good luck with that, right? So, anybody getting any of the chills that are now going through me as I'm sitting out here alone, friendless, considered to be crazy, making comments like this, when I've said I've been somebody who was almost murdered myself. And here I am making statements like this out in the middle of the night in a trailer in front of my house in suburban Maryland, United States of America. Anybody experiencing any of these chills? Let me put this on pause a second and get my thoughts together here. So I'm dealing with a situation where I'm trying to meet up with this person who I'm having great difficulty in meeting up with. I've sent her letters, gotten no reply to the letters. I've made maybe 1,000 videos like this one, and I get no comments. In fact, I look online and I see that most of the time there are 0 views of these videos. 0 views. Or 1 view or maybe 2 views occasionally. Make sense? Well, okay, so I'm saying that the person is a kind of person who would be time conscious, and quite apart from anything these diabolical people in what I'm suspecting to be the secret police of the United States, quite apart from anything they're doing, this person would be time conscious to the point where she might try to make communication to me by driving by my house at symbolic moments. So I see 1 or 2 cars coming down this street, and I check my watch. And somebody's going to say, any moment is symbolic. No, that's not true. So a car comes down the street. I can't see who's in that car. And it could be her, or it could be a bad guy, right? And, well, are y'all getting what's happening here? The bad guy operates by number symbolism, right? So he likes to murder on number symbolism, right? So here I am, and I'm saying, oh, a symbolic moment. Well, that is the moment that this serial murderer would like to do away with me, okay? And I can't tell who's in that car. So is it a surprise to anybody after some of the experiences, a life ruined by false accusations and a murder attempt that has nearly paralyzed me with fear across my lifetime? I'm saying I was radiation poisoned when I was 28 years old by these people. They expected me to die, and I lived. Now, I'm going to stay out here and watch a car go by when I can't see who's in the car, and I'm well aware that these murderers would love to murder on a symbolic moment, okay? That's their mark. So, have I communicated any of the peril I'm living in now as an old man trying to get the hell out of the United States? If I communicated any of that, I hope I have. So, that's all from me for now. Let me add this footnote by way of conclusion. I have been saying that because of the atrocity crimes committed against me in the United States, that when I address these crimes, the way I'm doing now, I will address them in videos like this one. Why? These videos are my attempt to get together with one person on this earth. And from what I've seen, information-wise, over the internet, there are approximately 8 billion human beings alive on the planet right now. And of course, it's increasing every moment, right? But roughly 8 billion. And among the entirety of that 8 billion, I am interested in one, and only one of those 8 billion. I'm not interested in anybody else. I am interested in this one person. So I cannot call this person up. I don't know where she is or where she lives. Can I go to her place of work? Why? I had a similar experience in 1988 where my life was forever wrecked by going to the place of work of a person like her. I was accused of a crime and put in a mental prison, then in a mental prison, half mental prison house, and so on. And I've been laughed at as the crazy uncle in my family, and by everybody who knew me from childhood on, who should have known better but haven't. And I've been in a virtual solitary confinement for over 40 years now. So I'm saying I want nothing to do, and I will have nothing to do with any of these folks in the United States. Nothing. Not with no exceptions. I want nothing to do with any of them, okay? So I'm going to go to somebody for this, that, or the other. I am not, okay? However, I'm trying to get in touch with this person. I've been calling Bishuasi. I can't call her up. I don't know where she is. I can't send her an email. What's her email address? I don't know. I can't go to her place of work or even contact, and I don't even know she works there anymore, and I wouldn't dare have anything to do with them after what's happened to me. So, what am I going to do? I got one thing I can do, make videos like this. So let me again repeat. These videos are for her and for her alone. Okay, they are not to get a YouTube following. Well, this is ridiculous. It's a moot point, right? I look online. There were 0 views to these videos. Okay, but even if there weren't, okay, I have no desire to get a YouTube following. Some people say, "My God, you're even thinking about that? You're nuts." Well, the thought comes up. Let me address the thought and move on. I have no desire to do that, and as I've been saying, this is the only way I figure I can get in touch with this person, and it hasn't been working now. I've been trying to get in touch with her, or wanting to, from the moment I saw her first on November 7th, 2022. So it's been almost. Well, today is the 5th. Wait, is it after midnight? Yes, it is. It's now it's a few minutes after midnight. It's the 6th of July, 2026. So in 8 days, I will have spent as much time I don't know how to phrase this. Aware of this person and trying to get this person into my life, I will have spent as much time on this as the United States spent in its war with Japan during World War II. So as I've figured out, the United States was in that war from December 7th, 1941. It declared war the next day, December 8th. But you can figure the war started with the attack on Pearl Harbor, right? So December 7th to August 14th, 1945. And if you figure that out, okay, as best as I can figure out, I figure that's equal to 3 years, 8 months, and a week, okay? And on July 14th, that is in 8 days. Is that what I just said? Yeah, 8 days. Wait a minute, let me make sure I'm getting the math right here. I'm in so much fear from the life I've had and the consequences of making communications like this, but you know, I figure I don't have any choice, so I'm gonna have to. Okay, let me see. Yeah, in 8 days, as much time in this experience I've had with the person I've been calling Bishuasi, I will have equaled the amount of time the United States spent in its war with Japan during World War II. And that's significant because this woman is Japanese, and my main antagonist in this life is a man I've been calling America's Man of the Year, and he was in that war with Japan. And that was important to him and important in our family growing up. So all this figures in. So once again, these communications are for you, Bishuasi. And what I've been trying to tell you, let me repeat, I cannot possibly get to you by running off somewhere or running to anybody. I cannot do these things. I've tried, and by now I've realized I cannot. Okay, so if we're going to get together, you have got to come here or contact me in some way that I can trust. Okay, so that's all for me for now. Bye for now.